kind of goes with covenant, I think, too. When we talk about the religious context and the other gods and the other ways of thinking religiously at the time, we are not trying to put down other faiths. We're all friends. However, there is a distinction, a radical distinction, between the way that the Hebrew people, this developing people, thought about God and experienced God and encountered God, and the way that everyone else around them did. There's a big difference. And the major difference that I think we would agree on is the personalness of how God interacts. The way that you encountered gods in the other religious traditions of the time, it's what we call idolatry. So gods, for the most part, are way far away. They're powerful, they're fickle, they're frightening, frankly.
Yeah.
So you go to an idol or a statue and you try to placate this god. You give it things, you give it money, you ask it for things, hoping that there will be a connection. The Hebrew people did not believe in idols. In fact, pretty negative about it. Mainly because they believed God comes down here and is interacting with us, and we don't need an intermediary.
It works through humans. That's
Absolutely.
a huge difference.
And makes covenant.
And makes covenant.
Gods do not, in the other religious traditions, gods do not come down and make covenants. People make covenants. Hebrew God comes down and covenants. I will be your God, you will be my people. So this is a direct, it's a hard God to escape, frankly, which is part of why we, this tradition is threatening for us, especially if you like your life the way it is. Close the book. This is not a good book for you.
Yeah.
So covenant leads then also to justice. If this God is going to come down and make personal demands upon you and your life, one of the big things this God asks for is justice. And that means treating people the way God would have you treat them, not just the way that you would even want to be treated.
Not the way that's necessarily easy or even socially acceptable. Like,
so the thing that you hear in Exodus and you see is God sees the people who are being oppressed. And we're not talking, oh, he looked at me funny.
No.
You know, this is serious physical, economic hardship and oppression. God sees these people, hears their cries, and then comes down. It's one of the earliest expressions of incarnation that people hear. God comes down and actually takes sides with this people who are being oppressed. So back to you, Major. Oh, we did the themes, so the stories.
Okay, so we're going to go to the 3 essential stories.
Moses first.
Yeah.
All right.
Kent's going to kick us off.
Man, I wanted to do Golden Calf, but then we realized since we're only doing 3, you got to do Moses,
There's
right?
just too many good ones.
There are. So Moses starts out with 2 people that I think you all need to know. Shiphrah and Puah.
It's like his favorite.
They are. I love Shiphrah and Puah. Pharaoh demands after, there's the massacre of the innocents, and Pharaoh demands that all boys under 2 will be put to death. Why? Because the Habiru, the Hebrews, were growing too powerful. And so Pharaoh,
too many
there are
of them.
too many. Pharaoh wants his pyramids, he wants his labor, but he doesn't want them getting too powerful.
It's population control.
So he has the boys murdered. Shiphrah and Puah are 2 Hebrew midwives and say, no, we're not going to do it. They actually lie. They say that they'll do it to his face, but then when it actually comes down to practice, they don't, and they hide Moses. They put Moses in a little ark, is actually the word kiboton in Greek. I forget what it is in Hebrew, but it's a little ark, a basket that they put on the river. Pharaoh's daughter ends up getting it, draws him up from the water, which may be where his name, Moses, Massah, comes from. Moses grows up then as a mixed personality kind of person. He is Hebrew, and he looks Hebrew, but he grows up with power and privilege in Egypt, and doesn't quite know who he is.
Yeah.
Has the moment where he sees an Egyptian taskmaster beating a Hebrew slave, and something inside Moses snaps, and he actually kills the Egyptian man dead and buries him in the sand. And the Hebrews, who he thought, oh, they'll like me for doing this.
Yeah.
They know what he did, and they're not particularly fond of him as an Egyptian either. They see him that way. And so he flees. He runs for his life because he knows the Egyptians are not happy about this, and the Hebrews aren't either. So he runs away, and then it's in this wilderness, a call.
Mm-hmm.
See, we're real people, busy church, things going on. It's in the wilderness as a shepherd, trying to run away from all of this responsibility in a way that God comes to him. Not through a nice telephone call, though.
No.
Through a bush. And it's not just any bush.
It's
It's a burning bush, and it's a talking burning bush.
Mm-hmm.
The most important thing in that story is God is speaking to Moses, saying he's going to send Moses back to Egypt to free the people of God. And Moses keeps trying to figure out, who are you?
Yeah.
That's natural.
Yeah.
Why would I go back?
It's weird to have a bush on fire talking to you.
What's your name?
Yeah.
And God continually refuses to give God's name. God just says at the very end, I am who I am. And part of this is an enormous reminder to all of us, particularly religious people. You can know God. I believe that. You can know the character of God. You can have a personal relationship with God.
Mm-hmm.
But, just like every person, this God will always be mysterious at the same time, which should make us as religious people humble about all that we think we know. So we can know God, we can trust in the character of God, and then we should always say, and yet, maybe God can do things and is capable of things that I don't really know.
Yeah.
This is a God who will be who God will be.
Exactly.
So that's Moses.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got...
Okay, and so we're probably really familiar with of Moses as the liberator of the Hebrew people from Egypt.
The Che Guevara, if you will.
He didn't actually end up doing anything.
No, that's true. But he had that cool bullet.
Yeah.
Arrow
Should we get
things.
T-shirts with Moses' face on it?
That would
Like,
be cool.
That'd be awesome.
I'd buy that.
I like it.
With the horns from
They will be available at tpc.com. It's going to be awesome.
That'd be sweet.
Mm-hmm. Or really, tpcspirit.org.
Thank you.
Which
whatever.
is the real
Well, we should turn it into .com. Yeah.
And so, to get the Hebrews released from Egypt, it was a long series. This wasn't a, hey, we want to leave. Down with that? No. It was a long series of plagues. People might remember this from Sunday school, way back in their memory, about the 9 plagues. Frogs,
blood,
locusts,
gnats.
river of blood, boils. It's not cute. And the last and final plague was the death of the firstborn in every household, which is, I gotta say, like, really kind of tough, I think, for us to think about. Yeah, where the Spirit of God comes through Egypt, murdering the firstborn. It's horrible. And especially when you think about that, like, even now it's horrible to lose a child. But in that culture, when the firstborn is the future head of the family, is the most prized child, where really all the other children are really nothing in comparison to the firstborn. As we were kind of saying with the Genesis video. But there's a way where you get out of it.
There's a way.
And God, through Moses, said that if you sacrifice a calf or a sheep, lamb.
Christian stuff, you know.
It's lamb. Delicious lamb.
Lammy goodness.
And take the blood and